Hi. So these are the skills you're going to need for doing literature circles. It's just literature discussions with a small group, but it doesn't include a teacher guiding that discussion. So you're going to have to guide that discussion yourself. And it's kind of fun and it's very freeing. So what you'll need though are social skills and reading skills. So let's go over these. These come from Mini Lessons for Literature Circles by Daniels and Steinecke. So let's go over these. Social skills. Okay, social skills, I know you guys, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence here, but in a literature circle, ways to make that discussion go really well are to do the following things. Listen actively, so that means your body position shows that you're actively listening. You're leaning forward, you're making eye contact, you nod and respond. That's active listening as opposed to kicking back and not looking like you're listening. So look like you're listening, listen actively. All right, create flow. Create flow means speak directly to each other, piggyback off the ideas of each other. If somebody says something, don't let there be dead silence after that. If somebody says, hey, I think this, you can say, oh, that makes sense, or oh, hey, that's cool, or oh, I never thought of it that way. So create flow, piggyback off each other, and ask questions about what somebody thinks. Next one, share airtime. So this is just to remind you that it's a small group discussion, and the ideal would be if everybody spoke and everybody spoke sort of equally. So don't dominate, don't interrupt, but also pull others in. Okay, so that can be tricky too, pulling others in. You don't want to put them on the spot and say, Joe, what do you think? And then they're like, ah, right? You don't want to do that either. So share airtime, don't interrupt, don't dominate. Try to pull others in a gentle way. What could you do to do that? You might say, I'd love to hear what you have to think on that, Joe. If you have an idea, but if not, maybe next time or something, maybe next topic. But invite them in, let them know you want their opinion as well. Okay. The next one, respect differences. Okay, so the best thing about discussion is it enriches everybody's thinking on the topic. So there are going to be differences of opinion, and that's the fun part. So respect the differences. You wouldn't want to diss anyone or make anyone feel embarrassed for what they think. You want to just, in fact, welcome that kind of differences, those kinds of differences. Those will enrich and broaden your thinking. So that doesn't mean you need to agree with everybody. Whoops. I came up. Speak up when you disagree, but disagree constructively in a way that promotes further discussion, not that embarrasses anybody or shuts it down. So you might say something like, wow, that's not what I thought, but I hear what you're saying, but I didn't think that at all. What do you think of this? And then offer your idea. Okay, so respect differences is another social skill. Have good manners. By that we mean stay on task, be responsible to the group, and honor people's burning issues. Burning issues are things that somebody seems to really, really care about. So you don't want to sort of, I would say you don't want to smush down anybody's burning issue. If they really care about that, that's worth acknowledging. And even just saying things like, wow, you clearly have thought about this and you really get this, and I appreciate that you feel so strongly about it. Awesome, thanks, right? That doesn't mean you have to agree, but just acknowledge that that's something really important to them. Staying on task is very important in a small group like this, because the teacher is not there to sort of guide you and reprimand you for getting off task. So to be responsible for the group, stay on task, don't distract people. All right, so the social skills, you want to listen actively, leaning forward, create flow by piggybacking off of other people's comments, share airtime and include everyone, respect differences, meaning, you don't have to agree with them, but you don't want to diss or embarrass anybody, and then have good manners by keeping your group moving forward. Those are the social skills. You also need reading skills. Let's look at, let me just remind you of the story of Red Riding Hood. Most people have heard of this. In the story of Red Riding Hood, Little Red Riding Hood goes through the woods to visit her sick grandmother. The wolf asks where she's going, and Red tells him. The wolf gets to the grandmother's first and eats the grandmother. Red Riding Hood arrives and notices Grandma looks different. The wolf attacks Red Riding Hood. She screams. The hunter hears the screams, comes to rescue, and I think he kills the wolf and opens up the tummy, and out pops Grandma. Grandma's alive, yay. So just to remind you of that story, let's look at the reading skills you need. If you're reading that story, good readers visualize what they're reading. So this may take some practice, but actually do take the time to try to see what you're reading. That really helps. That'll give you a much richer picture of what you're reading. And that's why movies aren't as good as books, because you'll do a better job visualizing the story than the movie maker. Well, not exactly a better job than the movie maker, but a different job visualizing it. And that's what makes the reading experience fun and rich. Okay, connect what you're reading to your own life experiences and your own thinking. Okay, let's actually just start with these two. If you visualize the Red Riding story, you're imagining this little girl going through the woods to visit her grandmother, and she runs into a wolf. So you might think, so first of all, you're visualizing the woods, and you've got this little girl going through there to visit Grandma. And you might think, gosh, yes, I have a grandma too, and I'd like to visit her if she's sick. I want to bring her some cookies too. And then you think, imagining, gosh, running into a wolf, that would be scary. I wouldn't want to run into a wolf while I'm going through the woods by myself. Yikes. So visualizing, wrong way. Visualizing and connecting are two important skills as a reader to have. You visualize the scene, you connect it to your own grandma, your own experiences, and you think about it. You question what you read, and you infer also. Question means just as you're reading this, what are your questions? And then you make inferences, meaning you actually go ahead and predict what's going to happen, or interpret, or have opinions on it. Let's go back to the Red Riding Hood story. You're going to question, like, does her mom let her go to through the woods by herself to visit her grandmother? That's kind of scary. And wow, why would her mom allow that? And then next, you might ask, if a wolf asks you where you're going, are you going to tell him that's like a bad guy? And he's like, where are you going? Oh, well, I'm going over here. Well, great. You just totally set yourself up for trouble. And that brings us to inferring. You might infer this is not going to go well for her. She's just told the bad guy where she's going. So those are some of the skills, right? You visualize and connect, you question why would she do that, and you infer this is going to be a trouble for her. And then evaluate this. Go ahead and judge it. Like, wow, I think she's really stupid to do that. She's setting herself up for big trouble, and she's setting up her grandmother. Moron, don't do that, right? So you're evaluating what the character does. And then okay, so that's all for those. And analyze is the hard one. It's where you're looking at how the writer is writing. I think we'll talk about that more in a separate video, because that's a really challenging skill to do. You're trying to look at, like, is the writer, trying to draw tension and create tension here by the audience knows she's going to be in trouble, but she doesn't. So there's this tension between the character, what's going to happen to her, and what, from the reader's point of view. We'll talk more about analyze later. I think that's a really biggie, and it's worth its own vid. Recall at the end of the story, try to be able to recall what happened. I think that's an important thing to do. You take a second and you think, what happened in that story? Oh yeah, she went through the woods, she was visiting her grandma, she ran into the wolf, she told him where she was going, wolf got there first, wolf ate grandma, she screamed, the hunter came, thank goodness, saved grandma out of wolf's tummy. Okay, so you've recalled and reminded yourself what you just read. That's helpful, and you'll be ready for the discussion if you do that. Self-monitor is a great one, because basically it's saying, like, you're going to be inferring and predicting as you go, but you're likely to change your mind. What if you turned out to be completely wrong? That's totally fine. You're an active reader, you're thinking things, and then you modify it as you find out new information. That's self-monitoring and changing your mind as you go. If you don't change your mind, how do you even know you have a mind? Okay, that's it for that. Let's see. Okay, and so that story was just meant to illustrate it, and good luck. So you'll be in your literature circles, and you're going to be trying to utilize the skills we just talked about, the social skills to be a good partner in a group, and the reading skills to be an effective reader as you go through. So good luck. We believe in you. All right, thanks.